strategies on SLARK. So what I consider the early game for SLARK as of 7.00 is making it to level 6. That's like the first thing. So something I've noticed when coaching people, and something that has been a pretty big deal for me, is that people don't focus on how to get level 6. I see a lot of people missing creep XP. I see a lot of them not prioritizing the importance of range creeps, and overall I just see them not doing whatever it takes in the laning stage to get to level 6. That is your goal. What I've noticed is that if you mess up a little bit, like if you get stuck at level like 5.5 with like no regen and have to go back to base and stuff, it snowballs out of control quickly. Like if you mess up once or twice in lane in terms of like you just miss an entire wave of XP or something like that, sometimes it can delay your level 6 from like 6 minutes to like 10. I've seen it multiple times. It's happened to me in the past, and it's something that I've simply strive to solve in any way possible. So little tips and tricks for SLARK in the early game is really prioritize range creeps if you can get them. Even missing the CS just to make sure that the range creep doesn't get denied is like a really big deal on SLARK. SLARK's a hero that like relies on farm heavily, like he wants a free farm lane, but most of the time if he can just get a reliable level 6, he'll farm really fast anyways, right? Once he hits level 6, he's a strong laner, like one of the strongest, but prior to level 6, he's like incredibly weak. So getting past the early game is pretty much like building enough regen with your starting items, itemizing so that you don't get bullied out of lane before level 6, and the big time is when you hit level 7. So when it comes to level 7, it's like the reason why the big deal is the reduction in mana cost for Pact, as well as the cooldown reduction, as well as the increased damage. I can tell you just from feel that Pact level 4 is far more effective than Pact level 3 for farming. Like it may seem like yeah it's 225 to 300, yeah it's more effective, but it's just far more effective for SLARK. You run out of mana much less quickly, and you also just kill camps and one less Pact. Like makes it so big camps take 2 packs instead of 3, which is like a big deal for SLARK because he's also damaging himself with these packs, and it's also just making him take longer to farm. So aside from that, I think that once you get to level 7, you should really look to see if you can stay in lane. I basically ask myself every game, what is the threat of the enemy when he hits level 6 and I hit level 6? Like if it's a Void, if they have level 6, if the Void chronos me, am I dead? If that's the case, I'm leaving lane. If it's a Beastmaster and he roars me, am I dead? If it's an Axe and he calls me, am I dead? These kind of things, like I ask myself when I'm level 6, because at level 6, since you have all the sustain for days, all you have to concern yourself with is dying, full to 0, or pretty much close to it, based on supports, based on the enemy offlaner, based on whatever you're laning against. And I ask myself if I want to be in lane or not. So there's several approaches to that. One, you can just leave. You can just go jungle and get levels that way and farm that way if you don't want to be in lane. But the next step is that a lot of people don't realize is utilizing Pact to clear a wave in order to get out as fast as possible. Like if the Void that you're laning against happens to walk to the side shop real quick, why not walk over, pack the wave, and run? Get yourself that XP, maybe like 2 or 3 of the CS, and just get out. A lot of people I see play SLARK don't prioritize the fact that like if you don't want to be in lane, or the enemy guy that you're laning against is just overall a threat to you and you're not a threat to them, then using Pact in the early game just to clear the wave and get out is like a great mechanism for SLARK to make it so that you can utilize it to get the XP and gold, and then you can utilize it so that since you clear the wave faster, you also have more time regenning with your ult out of vision. So once you get to level 6, it's a heavy balance between revealing yourself and not. You don't want to be sitting in vision a lot, right? Because of the way your ultimate works. You want to be benefiting from trades. And a lot of people think that the way they trade is by pouncing. And that's like, for some reason, that just freaks me out. I don't understand. Why do you think pounce is a good way to trade? It's his only escape mechanism other than his ultimate, meaning like positional wise, like you're not getting away with just Pact if you don't have pounce or ultimate. Remove a disable or a slow, but people can still just walk at you. You're only 305 base move speed hero. So, and Pounce does 40 damage, guys. Does 75 mana for 40 damage. And compared to Pact, which is 40 mana for 300 damage. So when I look at trading with people in the lane past level 6, I use Pact, like, to trade. I Pact, hit them twice, clear the wave, walk away. Regen up to full, they don't regen the health back. That's how I look to trade in the early game with SLARK. Once I get to my level 6, level 7, I do not pounce in. The only time I pounce, you have to think about it, is to hit people. That is what Pounce offers you. So I'm going to go over my mid to late game strategies of SLARK and utilizing Pounce. But if you're in the laning stage and you walk up to a hero and he's in point blank range, unless they have Marana Leap or Magnus Skewer to get away from you, why Pounce? That's like the biggest thing in the early laning stage that I see people just mess up horrendously in every single coaching session. Like, why are you pouncing? Ask yourself, why am I pouncing? Is it for the 40 damage? Should never be for the 40 damage. I mean, unless it's literally the killing blow for 40 damage. It's technically 30 with magic damage reduction. That's like half of what one single auto attack does on SLARK. So generally speaking, the reason why you pounce is to hit them. So if I can hit them without pouncing, I don't pounce. That's generally my rule of thumb all game, but mainly in the laning stage I notice that everyone, whenever they want to trade, just pounces. And that's just not correct, because if the trade's favorable for you, you can pounce later. And if it's not favorable for you, you can pounce away. But a lot of times I see people being forced to use their ultimate early just because they pounce to get that harass off.
Gotcha! You wanted out of here, didn't you?
So that's really like the big deal with the laning stage. Those are like the keynotes. Maxing packed out to farm, making sure you do whatever it takes to get level 6 as fast as possible, and then weaving in and out of the lane. Really finding spots you can hide in the trees and stuff like that as close to the lane as possible to reduce travel time, and just using your ult to regen and like doing that between trades. And that's the way that Pact and his ult just synergizes really well, rather than like pouncing in and stuff like that for trades. So I hope you enjoyed this video on how to approach the early game of SLARK, and check out my guides on SLARK to approach the rest of the game.